Hello, Jenna. Yes, hi. Can I just have a vanilla milkshake? Thank you. Yeah, I feel like one of them. Thank you very much. Hey, Nick. Hey, how you going?
Hey, Ray, good to see you here. I'm doing well. Fancy seeing you in a place like this.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I mean, this is the place to be for like Moon Knight fans. We're here with Jenna behind the bar. Her son's busboying about, I guess. I've got our rides for Grant Mansion if you're keen. I know I've just ordered a drink, but you know me. I don't.
Well, we could take. I suppose you could have these drinks to go. I got a little flask candy, so I guess I can pour this whiskey and coke into my little portable flask. Hopefully Jenna doesn't mind that we walk out with these, at least with my adult beverage. But
Exactly.
I'm definitely game. Have to seize the moment.
Exactly. Well, hang on. Let me just chuck some coin on the counter. There you go, Jenna. Thanks a lot. Yes, thank you for the milkshake as well. Nick's got his. Come on, Nick. Let's go outside.
Let's go.
All right, Nick. Here we are, just outside, and no moon copter, but we do have the moon cycles. Are you ready to ride, my good sir?
Sounds good, yes, and I like these, Wow, where'd you get these?
I got them from Italy, Nick.
Really?
Yeah. I thought you would have recognised the design. It's nothing but the best.
Supporting the local economy, I appreciate that.
All right, here's your moon helmet. Here's mine.
Cheers. Ooh, nice.
All right, let's go.
Good.
Yes, welcome back, loony listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 194, and yes, welcome back to Grant Mansion. We are here. It's splendid, it's regal, it's majestic. I am your host, High Priest Akonchi Ray. G'day. And as you heard at the very top of the show, I have brought over a very special guest for an Isla Ra sessions. Yes, indeed, those 4 desert island books that you cannot live without. So I want to give a huge welcome to the Grant Mansion. He's just dusted off his boots. He's taken off his helmet. Welcome, Nick. How are you?
Hey, Ray, I'm doing wonderful. Under Khonshu's eye, I suppose, since we are on the Moon Knight podcast. So as you would say, under Khonshu's eye, I am a novice at this. I do not have, sadly, the title of High Priest yet, but someday soon I may rise through the ranks from novice to High Priest. So I am honored and blessed to be in this hallowed place.
Oh, it's fantastic to have you, Nick, here. We've had some many fine chats on your show, and it's just great to have you on the other side of the fence, so to speak, for this one. So listeners, this is DJ Nick. He is a massive podcaster in his own right as well. Happiness in Darkness, Gold Standard, The Phantom Zone podcast, also Teen Titan. Nick, you've got it all. So you cover, I mean, in a nutshell, we will get into it in the talk, but you do cover a wide range of comic book and movie related stuff.
Correct, yes. Because obviously being a DJ by trade, I obviously have to mainly talk music for my day job, and basically, which is what I is my bread and butter day to day. So it's nice to be able to take a break and actually enjoy the geeky stuff. So because I don't really get the chance, obviously, to do that for work. And so obviously podcasting is a fantastic, should we say, echelon to be able to do that and indulge my love of all things geeky, and especially superhero related.
Yeah, well, geeky stuff you want, geeky stuff you get right here, Nick. As you can, how are you, by the way, in the nice plush leather seats? We are in front of the roaring fire. The bark is playing in the background. Nothing but class here at Grant Mansion. Are you settled in okay?
I couldn't be happier, and I'm so happy. They actually have my beverages of choice because, these kind of whiskeys, you don't find them anywhere else. And I'm so glad. I know you have to kind of keep them away from the boys because I know that they get rowdy if they get on the sauce, if you will. But thank you for keeping this kind of special little liquor cabinet for me, knowing, what I enjoy partaking. So I appreciate that. Thank you for making me feel at home.
Not at all. Don't thank me, Nick. Thanks Samuels, our good butler. He'll be around here shortly. I did ask him. I got a whip round for him to. I whipped him to bring those to you. So there's a nice fine selection of whiskies, as you can see right in front of you there. Now, listeners, Nick is here over at Grant Mansion for an Idle or Rush sessions. That's what I said at the top of the show. What we generally do for listeners that aren't familiar, what we will do in the first half of the show, what we like to get to know our fellow loonies. This is all about kind of learning about our ITK community, those within it, and those within the podcasting realm as well. So just going to fire some questions to Nick, kind of get under and know him a little bit better, especially as you say, Nick, your geeky side, and potentially your Moon Knight side as well. And in the second half, we will look at your 4 Desert Island books, or what I like to call the Isla Ra books. Now, so listeners, in the show notes, you'll see 4 encrypted links. They are to Nick's 4 books. So what you can do, you can either stop listening now, click on them all and have a look at what they are, read them, get acquainted with them and come back, or you can just wait and be surprised and have them revealed to you as we go. So this should be exciting. You have brought 4 varied books, which I can't wait to get into a bit later on.
Yay! Well, thank you so much, Ray. I'm glad you appreciate it. And you know what? It was very, very hard to choose just 4 because I know one could cheat and go on the trade paperbacks, but you told me that was not an option because I was like, I was thinking to myself, how can I, bend the rules a little bit and go into and say, trade paperback, that's 1 volume, but I guess that doesn't count. But no, it was tough to actually sit down and choose just 4 because I am, when people ask me, kind of about comics and stuff, I tend to say my love for comics is pan-comical in the sense that I don't hold an allegiance to a particular publishing house. In the sense that I share my love with all the comic books. That's why I say pan-comical. Because I know there are folks who feel very strongly about, DC or Marvel or Dark Horse or what have you. And I think that's great because it's interesting how one almost becomes affiliated, if you will, with a certain publishing house. Yes. And they almost become like hooligans, like soccer hooligans, in the sense that they live and breathe DC or they live and bleed Marvel. It's like the rest of the stuff doesn't exist. It's not real stuff to me. And you know what? Interestingly, I used to be like that way back when, which was actually during my metal days when I used to be very heavy into sort of heavy metal. And it was like, metal is the best and F the rest, kind of thing.
Who were your favorite bands, metal bands?
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I actually started out as a glam rock drummer. So I played in a glam rock band.
Nice.
And so I when it came to the band, we started off as like a cover band, obviously, and then we started writing our own songs. But it was everything that had come out of the Los Angeles circuit from that period. So we played stuff from like Poison, Alice Cooper, Cinderella, all that stuff. But yeah, metal. But then obviously I would go and listen to everything. Be it death metal, black metal, thrash metal, goth metal, whatever. As long as the word metal was in it, I'd listen to it. But I ended up actually hosting first off, I started wanting to really get to know these musicians. Yeah. And so I said to myself, how can I do that? So I said, I could maybe become a journalist for a magazine or something, because I'd actually gotten a degree in journalism from college. Yeah. And I thought to myself, I would love to do that. And so basically I found this online webzine. And in Italy, Ray, here's the thing. Being mother tongue English is a huge advantage. Okay. Because folks do speak English, but it's more kind of broken English, if you will. Yeah. And so they were like, we have a mother tongue here, and he speaks great English. And so that was kind of my foot in the door. Nice. And then from there, I started interviewing bands, and I got into that whole thing. And so it was, Yeah. Once again, when it comes to going back to your original question, though, because as you know me, I tend to ramble. But,
You're in good company.
But you know what? That's the thing about us DJs. We love the sound of our own voices, and so we tend to just ramble. I wouldn't say I have a particularly favorite band because, you know, having worked in the music business for almost 20 plus years now, it's hard to actually say I have a particular band. That's why if ever I was invited on Desert Island Discs, I would be in major trouble because I would not know how to choose 4 albums.
Yeah.
That, you know, even on social media, you know, they had the whole thing running of put out your 10 favorite albums. I'm like, ain't gonna do that because there's just too many. It would be unfair to the other bands that I love.
It's kind of like same with the bands and comics as well. It's how you feel like on the day, right? I mean, there's you could have your 4 favorite bands one week, and then you know you might feel like having these other bands the other week. Similar to comics as well. It's the same thing. Like and I have this morbid pleasure in hearing that everyone finds it difficult. So don't worry, Nick, you're not the only one. Let's
be honest, listeners. Ray loves seeing people squirm. He doesn't say it, but he
exactly.
There's this kind of guilty pleasure of
I love
steepling his hands, going excellent.
Exactly. I was about to say exactly the same thing. Steve, you said it better. I was about to say, you know, pointing my fingers together, but steepling the fingers, exactly, and chuckling. That's me. But it's really hard, isn't it? And circling back to what you said prior about having allegiances to publishing companies, it's that whole thing. If we're going to get really sociological, it's a whole thing about identity, isn't it? It's, you know, you can label that for country, you can label that for, I guess, you know, politics, you can label that for comic books and for bands as well. People like to find their identity, what defines them, and I feel that runs definitely throughout the comic book realm. It's good to hear that you are pan-centric, pan-comic?
I coined the term pan-comical.
Pan-comical, that's really cool. I like to dabble as well. I wish I learned more about DC, but you know, maybe I will have listeners after this this episode, you know. So
I mean, I don't want to retread here, Ray, because I'm sure folks might a little bit know, but I'm actually curious. Would you say that you tend to favor one publishing house over another, or do you know more about one compared to another?
Yeah, I think it's probably the second, the latter. I would know more one about the other. Not necessarily I'd favour. I guess by default you could potentially say I favour Marvel over DC, but that's only because I don't know much about DC. It was kind of a circumstance that just happened. It wasn't really by choice. I just fell into Marvel, and I lost my way with DC, and I didn't get back to it. So I'm enjoying it now. I'm actually reading John Ostrander's, and off the back of a recommendation from a friend of ours, Nick Russell, The Spectre. And The Spectre's fantastic. I really do love it. So I've been enjoying that. You know, I've been delving into Superman. So I have been enjoying a lot of the DC stuff. But yeah, just historically, I guess the mother lode is with Marvel and Valiant as well. I do love my Valiant.
Yeah, I was going to say you're a Valiant guy in more ways than one. A
Bloodshot guy in more ways than one as well.
And also, I wanted to actually take a moment to send a big shout out to our Kentucky kid Russell, of course, for being a great guy.
A big shout out, and a shameless plug out here to Tomes of Evil. Fantastic. Nick and I, we've both been on it. Let's face it, we both love talking about evil people. Thanos, leader, you know, it's all good.
I wonder what that says about us, Ray, but
I know.
I'm just saying.
I know. So anyway, you're all sorted for drinks. Look, I'm just going to ring also Sam a little bell here. It's always good. He's part of the show. Look, he needs his 10 minutes in the spotlight. I can't deny him it. Here he is. Samuels, okay, hi, yes. Yes, you brought Nick all that whiskey as well. I guess we can ask for nibbles. Do you want anything to eat? Nick, are you hungry?
Ooh, some pretzels would be good about now if those are possible.
Excellent.
I'm a very simple guy. I love my pretzels and my garlic bread.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we can get both. Samuels, do you think can you manage that? Pretzels and okay, yep. Okay, yeah, well, Samuels is we've got a big pantry over here. Mark is got a healthy appetite. So there we go. Okay, pretzels, garlic bread, and just I'll have that as well. Thank you, Samuels. Come on, away. I know you like your spotlight. Off you go. Okay, off he goes. Okay. So anyway, before we jump into Nick, some core questions, what we usually ask our guests. I wanted to get your thoughts because it is topical, I guess, at this time of recording. A WandaVision. We're talking about, some shows.
Okay.
The finale just wrapped up. I know you're going to record later on some thoughts, so I don't want to, steal your thunder in that sense.
Oh, no, not at all. It's going to be actually nice because obviously I guess once I leave the mansion here, I'll be off to the fandom zone to discuss WandaVision. So this will be nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just I guess broadly then, what did you think of the finale? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, well, first off, I really, really enjoyed it. I felt it was very clean and very tidy. That's what I will say, because bearing in mind you're here, we're dealing with a series and season finale. But yes, it was. I thought to myself, when I saw the runtime, I thought, how are they going to wrap this up in, 49 minutes or something like that? Because there were quite a few strings left hanging, and you were kind of wondering, how are they going to sum it up? I thought it was very clean and very sort of tidy, as I thought, and I really enjoyed what they did with it. There were, of course, some things which I know some folks were upset about, or should we say disappointed about, i.e., spoilers, folks.
Oh, yeah, spoilers.
The fact of yes, for those who haven't watched the season finale of WandaVision, you might want to go and do that now and then come back to this. But just saying that. That said, the fact of, for example, of the shared universe. I mean, the fact that we got that Quicksilver is not Quicksilver and that he's Ralph Boner.
Yes.
I mean, I was like,
that's right.
I thought that might have been a bit of a cop-out. Some people found it a bit of a cop-out.
Yep.
But I thought to myself, at the end of the day, from Paul Bettany, kind of taking the mickey out of us, to it makes sense that Disney would take the mickey out of us as well and just kind of like to tease us, saying, you think you're getting the shared universe, think again. So I thought it was, and I think that, and just like I mentioned about you kind of liking to see your guests squirm, I have a feeling Disney took delight and pleasure in seeing all these crazy theories being thrown out.
Yeah.
Because obviously they must have been just so over the moon, saying, wow, everybody's so invested in this, they're throwing out the craziest things. And they're totally wrong, because it's way simpler than that. Yeah. And it was a question of Occam's razor, I suppose, where the most logical answer is the obvious one. But I love the introduction of the Scarlet Witch, and I love the fact that I actually thought, because I actually had postulated the fact that it's just magic, she's not a mutant, and that was the case. Yeah. She's literally a magical creature.
Yes.
And seems to be a mantle that has been passed on almost from witch to witch, or that a witch will inherit. I made the example of the Super Saiyan, if you will, from Dragon Ball, where it's the ultimate level that you reach. And I'm thinking it's kind of like that. Were you satisfied with the finale?
I thought it was good. Similar to you, I guess the problem was that it was such a good show in the sense that it posited so many theories, so many ways that it could go, and everyone was enjoying, their own theories, that you inevitably will not reach that standard, because, it won't be your theory, or it will be something that you may have thought and you've cast aside and said, no, they can't do that because it's, that's a bit too obvious. So in the sense that I kind of felt that, but that has nothing to do with the show. I think that was how I was preparing myself for the show, and I enjoy speculating and all that, but I think that did play a part in how I experienced the finale and the series as a whole, the season as a whole. I really did enjoy it, though. I mean, seeing the payoff with the Scarlet Witch, that last episode, it was balls to the wall action, and I loved it, because we were talking about like powered up beings like Vision and White Vision, Agatha and Scarlet Witch, and they were just throwing it at each other, and I really did enjoy that. There were some holes, but again, it's like, in retrospect, I was kind of, after I watched it, I was kind of like, oh, they didn't close that out. But I guess in retrospect, they've got to keep things open because it's leading into the movie, like Doctor Strange 2, and And did you think also, Nick, as well, because the title of the last episode is series finale, so does that mean to you that this is the one and only season of Scarlet Witch that we'll get?
Well, here's the thing. Yeah. Kevin Feige has been very tight-lipped about this, in the sense that he has said there might be a second season, there might not be, because probably, I think, at the end of the day, he maybe doesn't know himself. Yeah. As in, maybe they were not expecting it to be as successful as it was, because bear in mind, because of obviously that the ultimate villain of all villains, COVID-19 came along, and you know, I think they, you know, our friend Russell should probably do an episode on the COVID, if you will, or some comic book artist should create a character called COVID and make it an acronym, or an evil organization. But the thing is, Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to be the first show to kick off the MCU TV verse, if you will. So you wonder how that would fit into the grand scheme of things. So it will be interesting to see when we do get Falcon and Winter Soldier in a couple of weeks and how that plays in. I mean, I thought that the thing was this. I would love it there to be a second season, but the problem is, I guess it all depends on what happens in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yes.
Because from what we know, you know, from what I've read, it seems like Vision will make a brief cameo in that film.
Okay. Well, he has to, because he kind of left, the White Vision at least left. That was one of the big holes for me. Like, he got this almost...
he's like, I am the Vision, and he zooms off.
He got this revelation, an awakening almost, but then he went away. And so it just felt like, okay, well, is he good now? Like, are we going to see him fight for the forces of good? But I'm sure we'll get to see that, you know, maybe in Doctor Strange, maybe.
Could be. Other than that, I mean, one could make the argument that Teyonah Parris's character of Monica Rambeau was maybe underserved a little bit in this episode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because you're thinking that maybe you're trying to set up one of the new heroes who will potentially become one of the new members of the Avengers. And we still don't know whether she'll be Spectrum or Photon or even Captain Marvel. Yeah. Because another speculation was that she might take on the mantle of Captain Marvel, and that would cause some friction when she actually meets Captain Marvel, i.e. Carol Danvers, in the Captain Marvel sequel.
Yes, which is highly probable, right? Because, from that end credit scene, it looks like that's where she's heading. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I loved the post-credit scene where we got a scroll and basically the should we say, the throwback to Talos and Nick Fury. Yeah. So I'm assuming, hopefully, that we will be getting Sam Jackson in the next film, and also Mr. Mendelsohn as Talos.
Yes.
I love. I believe his name is Ben Mendelsohn. I think it is.
Yeah, he's a great Aussie actor. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. In fact, I didn't want to get the name wrong, seeing as he's, you know, your fellow countryman as well. But yes, and so I'm assuming that Skrull was talking about Talos and Nick Fury.
Yes, I thought maybe either or, because she did mention he's keen to see you. So yeah, it was for my I was hedging my bets. It's either Talos or Nick, basically, because Nick's up in space. So
exactly. In fact, and I actually had to remind one of my friends that Nick Fury was up in space. He's like, didn't he die? I'm like, dude, have you forgotten Spider-Man: Far From Home? Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I love that, and the whole thing of the Darkhold, I think, is also an interesting thing. Bearing in mind, though, here's the one thing: it kind of throws out of canon Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Runaways.
Yeah, because the Darkhold was there, right? So they've...
Yeah, in the whole Ghost Rider story arc.
Yeah, so a lot of people were thinking that book wasn't the Darkhold because of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Runaways, but yeah, lo and behold, I guess it is, but, you know, maybe... Well,
and now I want a copy of that book. I mean, I would just love to get that as the stage prop, because the drawings were just so cool.
Oh, they were really good, weren't they? Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the Book of the Dead and Evil Dead and Army of Darkness.
Yes, the Necronomicon.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, I'd actually mentioned on Fandom Zone that my girlfriend is a huge fan of the Evil Dead franchise.
Oh, nice.
And we were watching this together, and she's like, "Is that?" I'm like, "No, babe, it's not the Necronomicon. Pull your jets. It's not the Necronomicon."
You should have just said yes, so then she would like watch more of it. So
I know, but because she was so excited about it, because obviously, I mean, we actually watched. The funny thing is, my friends kind of find this hilarious. Is like, I tell them that on date nights, my girlfriend and I actually watched Ash versus Evil Dead,
Yes,
and the TV show. And they're like, "Oh, that yeah." I said to my friends, "We find it incredibly romantic to watch this splatter TV show together." They're like, "Okay, whatever floats your boats, guys."
Yeah. And for those that have watched that series, you'll know that it gets to pretty extreme measures. I'm thinking of that autopsy room or that morgue. There's that classic scene now. It's got to be where Ash, how shall I say, a corpse mounts his head, so to speak.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Talk about, I mean, maybe I know this is mainly a family-friendly show, but talk about the. It made me think of Monty Python's "Sit on My Face." Okay, that aside, but it does make you wonder, though. Sam Raimi is going to be directing the next Doctor Strange film.
Yes.
So you wonder whether he might use some throwbacks to Evil Dead and I'm sure he's going to have a ball with the whole Darkhold thing. I have a feeling it's going to play majorly into the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Plus you have Sam Raimi. You know he's going to do some throwbacks to Evil Dead.
Oh, yes. And he can do, I mean, he's proven with Army of Darkness and Evil Dead 2, he's proven that, well, not so much Evil Dead 2, but maybe Army of Darkness, that he can do horror, but it's not your full-on gory, R-rated horror. He can, because it's Disney, right? So I reckon he can do stuff that's scary enough. But you got that also in Spider-Man 2 with Dr. Octopus. That was very much an Evil Dead moment. Yeah, that was very good. So I'm so looking forward to seeing what Sam Raimi can do now with Doctor Strange, because, as we were saying, doing the whole occult stuff with Evil Dead and being with the budget that he has with Disney, I'm sure he's going to really let his kind of occult flag fly. And folks, I'm sure, are really looking forward to seeing what somebody like Sam Raimi can do with Doctor Strange. I'm so excited about that movie. Me too as well. And just finally, to cap off a note, you spoke about Kevin Feige. I think he did say the TV series that they are creating, they've been kind of designed to either transition to like a film or to transition into another season or series. And I think WandaVision's very much transitioning to Doctor Strange 2, but as you say, anything can happen after that. They might decide after Doctor Strange 2 that it might warrant another season of WandaVision. Let's hope that it does, because it is a very enjoyable, I have found it a very enjoyable series as a whole. Yeah.
And yes, and plus also I think Elizabeth Olsen, if she doesn't get at least one Emmy, it's going to be a crime against humanity, because Elizabeth Olsen has proven that she's a fantastic actress.
Without a doubt. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if they ignore this particular genre, again.
Yeah. It might get nominated, but might not win, kind of like what happened with Black Panther at the Oscars of all things, because Black Panther was actually nominated as an Oscar for Best Picture. Yep. It didn't win, but granted, the company it was in was pretty impressive company.
Yeah, that's
but fair enough. It was already great in itself to just see a superhero movie like Black Panther being nominated for Best Picture.
Oh yeah, that was a buzz for any comic book, any geek. That was a buzz. Progress is being made on that front. So yeah, I mean, hopefully, because at the end of the day, these are great stories being told. It's just a genre. If the story told is good, then it should be given that recognition. That's all I'm saying.
Agreed.
Anyway, let's move on to some comics then, Nick. Just questions like these questions. So I wanted to know more about you with comics, and I always lead in with this first question of how did you get into comics? Like what made you go look for comics? Was it games? Was it TV? Was it someone giving you a comic? How did it all start?
It's very strange, because my, shall we say, venture into comics was probably one of the oddest ones, I think. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to probably check out some of the other, some of the other guests have said. But funnily enough, it all came from Mortal Kombat.
Ah, okay.
Because
really? Yeah.
As a kid growing up, I was mainly my geekdom was mainly video game related at the time when I was growing up, and I hadn't read any comics to speak of. But I'd actually gotten very heavily into the whole video game stuff, and I absolutely loved Mortal Kombat, and I still do to this day, and I cannot wait for the movie. I'm really excited and hyped about the movie. And so what happened was I wanted to get my hands on everything Mortal Kombat related. And I found out there were actually some Mortal Kombat comics.
Oh.
And so my mother, the saint that she is, went out to pretty much every other store that she could find and newsagent and what have you, and started, getting me the Mortal Kombat comics. Okay, folks, they are really fun to read. They're probably not the best storytelling, but bear in mind, for a kid who was all about the uber violence and just wanting to see all these great characters, your Raidens, your Kanos, your Shao Kahns and what have you, on the printed page, that's, I think, what actually started my venture into comics, because I did not... That's where I started, of all places, and then just after that, I discovered Venom. Venom was actually my gateway into, shall we say, traditional comics.
Oh, the Eric Larson, Todd McFarlane era. We're talking.
Yes. Well, and the fact was, unlike a lot of kids at the time, I hated Spider-Man.
Really? Okay.
Yes, I was with Eddie Brock all the way.
Okay.
And that's probably what drew me to Venom, because I actually had heard these things that Venom wanted to kill Spider-Man. He kind of was like, that, to me, in the eyes of a kid, he was the cool version of Spider-Man.
He was a very cool villain, I must say.
Yeah, and plus the costume, obviously, with the symbiote concept of this black with the white spider logo on his chest and everything else.
Yeah.
And I think it also played into the fact that I loved Aliens as well, the Aliens franchise, because he is, of course, the symbiote, of course, is alien.
Oh, yeah, true,
and some of the artwork is reminiscent a little bit of the Xenomorphs, if you will. And obviously it's not that the Giga artwork of the aliens, of the Xenomorphs, but that's what drew me to Venom, because you hate Spider-Man, I hate Spider-Man too, buddy. Let's go and kill Spider-Man.
Why this hatred of Spider-Man? Just curious. Like, was it just because he was, I don't know, just you couldn't relate to him in a way, or?
Unless I just was maybe at the time my rebellious nature of the fact that everybody loves this guy, stop loving this guy, it's getting irritating. and so finally I found a guy who I could relate to, in the sense of somebody who hated him as much as I did. And I just really loved the Venom stories. And now, I proudly own them all. And
nice.
And once again, my mother, with the patience that she had at the time of rushing to like 25 different news agents to find the latest issue of Venom at the time for me. Yeah. And that's where the whole thing kind of grew, because after that, obviously, I got into Batman. And so after Venom, I went into Batman, and I started reading things proper.
Yeah.
Because what happened was, there was this one publishing company that started coming out with these collected editions of best Batman stories.
Okay.
From the Bob Kane era to the present day. And I thought, this could be an interesting gateway to learn Batman proper and get all the real good meat of the story. So I started buying I set up a subscription with them, and so I'd get these books every other month. And from there, it just kind of grew and grew and grew, obviously also with the movies and what have you. And then I actually went back, and I'm a completist by nature, Ray. So what happened was, I decided to go back to the origins of everything, and so I started reading the Marvel stuff from way back when Lee and Kirby started, and Ditko and stuff, and I worked my way up. Folks called me crazy, but I did it, and I actually had seen a post on Facebook on some social media saying that anybody who wants to go back and read 80 years of comics is nuts. And I said, wait till you get a load of me. And so I went off and did it, and it was such a satisfying journey.
It is really good. I believe that there is a resurgence of interest in that sort of thing as well. Look, it may have always been there as well, but I'm a big fan of collected. Complete collections and epic collections and stuff like that, and that has
like your trade paperbacks and stuff.
Yeah, well, there's a particular Marvel line called Epic Collections, and they the goal is to reprint everything from pretty much go to woe of a particular character. So Amazing Spider-Man, it will go all the way back to his very first appearance, and it will actually I've got like 9 volumes now. I think there's like 14 volumes at the moment. They haven't completed it yet. But they collect every single appearance significant appearance of Spider-Man in the titles. Similar with the Incredible Hulk, like Daredevil, all that sort of stuff. And
the Marvel Masterworks was great in that too.
This is a cheaper version of it, and you get more bang for your buck, because Masterworks are fantastic, but they were a bit expensive for me.
True.
But these
being comic book fans is an expensive hobby.
It is very expensive, yeah. But these epic collections, you get something from like 15 to 20 issues in one hit for a reasonable price. So anyway, you're talking about like wanting to redo all the origins and read back on, say, Batman and stuff. And this is perfect for it. And I think a lot of people, I'm doing it. I'm loving it. I'm actually doing a read through of the Hulk. I'm a big Hulk fan. From Go to Woe, so I'm reading currently Tales of Suspense. I think was where he was featured, mostly. So yeah, a lot of fun, but really good to hear that, and also as well, trade paperbacks, Nick. I think your experience has pretty much validated the existence of it. I mean, this is perfect. This is why I guess they do it. It's easy access. People who want to learn more, they just grab them, like you and the Batman collection, and then off you go, and then you build this kind of fandom and this enthusiasm, and it's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, and also I think the beauty of it also is you get to experience history through comics, in the sense that you see how dialogue would change, or maybe Marvel especially, and I have to hand them over DC in certain respects, is they also kept very much with what was going on at the time, as in who was the president, what war was going on, what major issues were being tackled. DC latched onto this later on. Marvel was very much more forward-thinking in that sense, and it's wonderful to say, oh, wow, so so-and-so was a president at this moment, and they had the Cuban Missile Crisis going on during this particular period and stuff. And you really appreciate, because it's almost like a journey through time, as in it's a reflection of what was going on, even more so in the dialogue, because you read like when Stan Lee used to write stuff, and then you go and see further down the line when you get people like Joe Quesada, you're like, the dialogue did change quite a bit. I mean, you used to see like stuff like No Cigar, or you win a Cupid doll, or this guy's like, and I actually had to go and look up those references, because I might be old as dirt, folks, but I'm not as old as all that. So I actually had to go back and say, what is this Cupid doll? What do they mean by this kind of? And it's I love that evolution, which is the reason why I like watching, why I do the whole Gold Standard project of watching Oscar films from the earliest ones, because you see the evolution of a medium.
Yeah. Well, I'd definitely like to touch on that as well, Nick. So we'll get to that pretty soon. I just wanted to say as well, no spoilers, but one of your Isla Ra books, very much the case for me. I mean, because I've acquainted myself with a lot of the early like Marvel stuff, the 60s. One of your comics goes even further back, and it is so amazing just to read how it was written, the language. It's quite fun indeed. Just one of the other things, just with your comics, I always like to give a shout out. So you mentioned your mum got some comics for you when you're young. How about today? Like, where is your local LCS? Are you an online orderer, or do you go somewhere to convene?
Here's the thing. When it comes to Italy, it's always very tough, because obviously I refuse to read comics in Italian. As in, I mean, look, it's the translation, so I suppose it's not like they're being dubbed. That's why I'm very much against dubbed movies, even though we do have the best dubbers in the world, folks. That is a known fact that Italy has the best dubbers in the world. But to the point to where the actual actors want to meet the dubbers because they're so impressed. I'm not saying that to blow Italy's horn, but that's how it is. But that said, I want to read the actual dialogue as it was intended.
Yeah, sure.
So my one-stop shop is Comixology these days.
Okay.
Because of the fact that I just wouldn't have the space to have the physical comics. As much as it saddens me to say that, I mean, I do have the stories that were kind of near and dear to my heart. I have in the hardback versions because I just have to. But these days, now that I'm reading comics and stuff, I have my various subscriptions to the various books and stuff through Comixology and through the DC app and the Marvel app. Okay. So yeah, I can just happily wait for them to drop and just click download and read them, just where I'm at.
It's fantastic. Yeah, Comixology, those apps as well are fantastic. I mean, again, they just give you such easy access to all those, and their library is ever growing as well. I mean, there's still some stuff that I can't find on there, but that's okay. I mean, it'll get there soon enough. But yeah, no, that's fantastic. No, that's great.
Do you actually go to a store yourself, Ray, or are you also more in the digital realm?
I'm a bit of both, but yeah, I still go to an LCS, King's Comics, the greatest comic book shop in the universe. It's just located in Sydney. Really a bunch of great people over there. It's always good to have a chat with them. There's one guy, big shout out there to Scotty. Always end up spending a lot more time there than I think I would, because I end up having just a good chat with him and learning about other stuff, learning about their trade as well. I'm just interested behind the scenes, I mean, as well. Just so you're
like, I'm going to be fight. You're like saying to you, like your partner and etc. I'm going to be in the 5 minutes and I'll be right out, exactly. And just end up spending an hour just talking comics with the chap. Yeah, that's how it goes.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's good. It's good in that sense. It's a good environment. But yeah, the space is an issue, Nick. I mean, that is, it's just the bold reality of it. So I have curtailed a lot of my single issues collecting because it's just, so I get singles, like digitals for that, or I do have like Marvel Unlimited, so I just wait. And the things that I really do love, then I do immortalize in trade paperback or hardcover, and put that on the shelf because it's something that I know I will reread over and over. So yeah,
it's like the Sandman stuff. I own the Sandman kind of limited edition, whatever, because it's just so beautiful. And some things need to be kind of the joy of flipping the pages and stuff. Yeah. Obviously, it's that. But yes, unless you own like some cavernous mansion like we're in right now,
exactly.
One wouldn't be able to. I think after a while, space is finite. It was finite, at least in this, when it comes to that. Whereas, online it's infinite. So it's great. There is that.
Yeah, true. And so you mentioned stuff like Venom. You mentioned Aliens, and then I've also got here, because I know you're a big fan of Spawn. So I'm starting to see the trend, the symbiotic.
You're seeing a pattern,
aren't you? Yeah. But yeah, so you're obviously a big fan of Spawn. And is it to do with it being a bit more on the dark side?
I believe so, and I think I love revenge stories, and that no surprise, one of my favorite directors of all time is Quentin Tarantino.
Ah, yes,
who is all about revenge. I mean, one of his main themes throughout his movies is vengeance and revenge stories, And obviously that's what Spawn is at the end of the day. Spawn is one big revenge story with, of course, some very dark overtones at the same time. And what I thought was when Todd McFarlane created this character, is so revolutionary because one, you actually have an African American as your main focus, if you will. Granted, you'd had previous African American characters like Black Panther, or even when it came to Jon Stewart as a Green Lantern in DC and what have you. But I love that concept, and not to mention the fact of he's a hero, but he's an anti-hero. Is he a villain? I put him in the same category as Venom because Spawn, I think, wants to do right, but at the same time, his methods can be debatable. Granted, he does bad things to bad people, but it is debatable. It's kind of like Dexter. There's folks who love Dexter, and I love the TV show Dexter, but you're rooting for a serial killer.
Yeah.
That's what it is at the end of the day. You know, you have to kind of check yourself sometimes. That's what reason why I love, I think, Spawn, and I think Dexter is a good comparison with Spawn in that sense, because you're literally rooting for a guy who goes against the law and is murdering people.
Yeah.
He's murdering bad people, but he's murdering people. It's like the Punisher.
Exactly.
Thing.
I was about to say, it's exactly like the Punisher in that sense. People get behind him because he's doing, he's putting away bad people, but you've got to question his methods.
His moral compass.
Definitely Punisher's moral compass is, I don't know where it is. It's gone. But it's so funny, with Spawn, you reminded me, I was listening to your show, The Fandom Zone. I think it was The Fandom Zone. I can't remember, but you were likening, I think you were doing a thing on WandaVision.
Oh yes, when I likened the Violator to Agatha Harkness.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I mean, it's such a little thing, but I just love the darkness of Spawn, and when you're putting a word like the Violator in amongst the WandaVision TV show, I'm just thinking, I just had to laugh at myself, going oh man, yeah, the Violator. I mean, it's such a strong word. Not to say that it has any association with WandaVision, but it being a Disney Plus show, that sort of thing. But you've got this, Agatha, she's very much like the Violator, don't you think? And I think Charlie and Jesse were like, yeah, okay, interesting.
Because of the fact of it's kind of like the dark version of, because I also wanted to throw in the comparison of Virgil and Dante in Dante's Inferno, but to me, she is more like almost a dark version of Virgil, i.e. the Violator, because of course we know that the Violator has nefarious purposes when it comes to Spawn. Obviously he's trying to recruit him into, or he's telling Spawn that he is going to lead Satan's army, literally, and what have you, or the Devil's army, but he is showing him the ropes, if you will. So that's why I threw out the craziest examples there. I believe it was "It's a Wonderful Life" because it was kind of like Clarence and George Bailey, and also the Violator and Spawn, because obviously she is evil, but she's showing her the ropes. Because at the end of the day, what she shows Wanda is ultimately her downfall in the TV show.
Yes, it is.
But that's why, for some reason, it made me think of that crazy clown that is the Violator. The movie was terrible. I was so sorry for John.
Oh my god!
I was so sorry for John Leguizamo, who's a fantastic actor, but that was not his finest hour.
No, but he was. I found him the most enjoyable out of the movie from memory. Just in that little the blue face, version of the Violator.
Yeah. When he played the evil when he was clown.
When he was clown mode. I'm just going to throw it out there, Nick. The Crow. Do you like The Crow? I'd imagine you.
Oh, I love The Crow. Yes. Once again, major revenge story.
I was just thinking that would be right up your alley. Then it's a really good character. I love it. James O'Barr, I think, is that his.
Yes, exactly. I actually even played the video game of, I think it was actually City of Angels, I believe it was, and it wasn't the. Okay. There was a video game, and I was like, I'm going to go take out bad guys and revenge, whatever. Yes, let's do it. So yes, I love the Crow as well, and I love the Crow comics just as much because it's because of the whole fact that I'm all about vengeance. I don't know. I guess it's about justice. I'm very much a big fan of people getting their just desserts and if you will, and people seeing rights being wronged. Granted, should we say violence and murder is never the answer, but. Yeah. But you do. It does give you some kind of pleasure to see these horrible people meeting these grisly ends.
Well, that is true. That is true. I've got the visual of that guy in The Crow at the end, the guy with the very deep voice. He met a very gruesome ending. I remember that. Mm-hmm. And this is quite apt that we're talking of these topics as well, Nick, because I wanted then, I'm bound. Conchu has bound me by legal or spiritual rights to mention at least Moon Knight. I mean, so what is your I guess association with Moon Knight? Are you a big fan? I mean, he does tick all the boxes. He's very violent. He's vengeful. He's a fist of Fist of Khonshu is the Avatar of Vengeance. It is a revenge story as well. He got killed by Bushmen. Got resurrected as well. What is your connection? Are you a fan, or do you just know him kind of incidentally from other titles?
I do enjoy some Moon Knight comics here and there. I mean, I actually am a big fan of the Vengeance of the Moon Knight story.
Oh yeah, lovely.
Shock and Awe is a big one for me.
Lovely.
Once again, playing into the whole revenge thing, of course, and the Shock and Awe is one of my favorite Moon Knight stories. Along with
is that the sick person in hospital and the lady?
Yeah, the 2009.
That run. But that particular
the limited
story
series. Yeah.
Yeah, but was that the one with Deadpool in there?
No, I don't. If I recall, I don't know if I don't believe Deadpool was in that one.
Oh, he's in Vengeance of Moon. Let me just grab it off the shelf here. But Shock and Awe, I'm just trying to remember because that was a particular arc.
I really, really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, right. It is a good run. I do love it. It is quite underrated as well. Great art in it. But okay. So you do familiar with some modern Moon Knight at least, yeah?
And also Birth and Death was a big one for me as well. From 2015, which came out, it came out in 2015.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I even went further back to the 1980s, and I really enjoyed also the Moon Kings, which was obviously only 2 issues, but I did like the Moon Kings.
The hallucinogenic kind of...
Yeah.
No smoking turns into Moon Kings, I think, when Moon Knight looks at the sign on that. Yeah. Oh, nice. That's very cool. Well, I mean, he certainly he is coming out with not him. Disney Plus are coming out with a show, so that will. I mean, I'm sure will be on your radar to review and discuss on the likes of the Fandom Zone. But moving to your podcasting, so we know that you like your comics. We know that you like the Vengeance. You like the Venom, Spawn, Aliens, that sort of stuff. Moving to another side, another kind of a feather in your cap is podcasting, which I mentioned at the top of the show. So we have Happiness and Darkness, which is a superhero movie podcast, which is great. I've been on there a few times. I love it. It's a very good, very strong concept. I want to jump to Gold Standard, because you mentioned that you liked you liked going through basically the origin. So you're going through basically from the very first Oscar awarded to onwards.
Yes.
Yeah. And how's that tracking at the moment? Why not just let the listeners know a little bit about it, your co-host and such?
Well, it all spawned from the fact of one day I just decided to watch the very first Oscar movie to ever win the Best Picture award, which is Wings from 1927. Wow. It's a silent movie. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, I just want to see what cinema was like back then. And I was watching it, and I thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool to start up a discussion with folks about movies? Or rather, should we say, first off, I thought to myself, I would like to do a marathon of going through all the Best Picture winners, from the very beginning, and just go through them. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool to actually discuss this stuff with folks? And so there were these 2 lovely ladies that I had actually podcasted with in the past, Zan Sprouse and Rachel Friend. Mm-hmm. And I just put the concept to them, and I said, how would you feel about the fact of going through the Best Picture winners chronologically, rather than, say, just pick them at random and just sort of go through this journey? And they were more than happy to jump on board. And so now we're on our 19th episode. We've done 19 of these so far. Wow. And it's been a fantastic journey. I mean, just as we talked about the evolution of comics, mm-hmm. the evolution of film is just as fascinating, because you once again see what was relevant, should we say, what society was like in that particular time period, what was important to folks, the role, even, for example, because bear in mind, I have 2 female co-hosts, mm-hmm. the role of women in film and even in society, which is a very interesting concept, and how that has evolved over time, thankfully.
Yes. Sorry, Nick, what do you call, do you remember, what do you call that test? It starts with a B. Which is, isn't that a Hollywood industry standard now? It's a something test, and if your film or your TV show has 2 female characters in it talking about something that's not related to some boyfriend or husband.
I can't. You know what?
You know what I'm talking about?
Now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But the name escapes me right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, and that's just what we're doing. You know, we're now 19, and I just love, seeing this. And plus, I have to be honest, I was not as familiar with certain actors that are considered to be part of the golden age. You think of your Clark Gables, your Greta Garbos, your Ingrid Bergmans, etc. And I had not taken the time to really get to know these folks, and now that I have, I love seeing that. And as I said, we've done 19 episodes so far. We just wrapped up doing the best years of our lives from 1946.
Wow, in the 40s.
This week,
yeah.
Yes, we're in the 40s. And in fact, there are folks like, I'd love to discuss, Dances with Wolves. I'd love to discuss, Return of the King or what have you. And I'm like, guys, it's going to take a couple of years.
Wow. That's a huge undertaking.
Yeah, I mean, I've calculated that we should roughly get to where we are now in about another 2 years. So basically,
that's doable.
In 2023, we should be roughly around Parasite and thereabouts. So we should be on, should we say, on the level with what's going on in Hollywood now. But yeah, the girls are wonderful. Rachel and Zan are fantastic co-hosts, and I just love discussing it. And not to mention, it's just a great. Yeah. You know what? You feel more cultured after you've watched the movie. I've watched Highbrow. I feel more educated now.
Well, the word enriching comes to mind for me when you're talking about what you've undertaken. It just sounds like it's enriching, because you're open. You've opened yourself up to stuff that you're not familiar with. And you don't necessarily, in not a bad way, have any interest in. Like the movies that you choose are bound by the fact that they won the Oscars. So they may not be movies that you have had any interest to watch, but you go watch it. So it's a very enriching experience, I think, for you. And that's a really cool. I don't want to call it an experiment, just a premise. It's really cool to go through it, and the fact that you are meticulously going through those years is fantastic. It would be interesting to see. I guess once you reach 2023, you go back to Wings and you see like, okay, well, how do I feel about that like now? It might be even more. You might even have a greater feeling for it, a greater appreciation.
Correct.
For it,
because our idea is actually once we get to there of kind of almost doing an episode of what have we learned about Hollywood.
Yeah.
Through this. Extensive journey. So it definitely teaches you, and also I think you learn to watch movies with a different eye as well.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure, absolutely. And also, hang on, Samuels. Hello. Yes, you took your sweet time, Samuels. Nick here has been drinking some whiskey. I have been drinking my wine, my vanilla milkshake. Looking for pretzels. Where were you? Okay. Here they are, Nick. Sorry about the tardiness.
No problem.
Samuels is having an off day. Yes, no worries. 20% off his pay this week. Okay.
That would explain.
No, he's getting 20% off. You're getting a cut, Samuels.
Okay, yes.
No, as I think goes.
What happened to Jarvis? Did Jarvis decide to quit early? I suppose.
No, Jarvis is busy. With the Avengers. We've got Samuels. He's very, very loyal to Mark. So, unfortunately, sometimes he wanders. Anyway, Gold Standard. I want to just track back to Happiness in Darkness as well, Nick. I'd really love for you to let the listeners know about it. I highly recommend it. It's as what it says on the 10 superhero movie podcast. But how did this come about as well, Nick? And kind of where are you at with it at the moment?
This was, actually my first foray into podcasts, because up until this point, I had been just a guest on other podcasts. And I thought to myself, I'm really enjoying this whole podcast, thinking I might as well, do my own. And so I basically started up Happiness in Darkness. And just the fact of wanting to, I suppose, revisit all these superhero movies with, different co-hosts, because obviously... Folks would probably be bored to tears hearing just me ramble on for about an hour and a half of just myself talking about these movies. So I thought to myself, it'd be nice to have different co-hosts every time, and and just have them either pick a film or what have you. And now I've gone to the point where I have this kind of wheel of fortune where unless folks come to me saying, I want to talk this film, I will spin the wheel and say, okay, next week you've got this. And then I might approach certain folks and seeing if they're interested in doing it. And we've covered quite a bit of ground here. We're on, I believe, 77 episodes. And
fantastic.
It's and I think it's a genre that's not going to be going away anytime soon. No. So there'll definitely be tons of ground to cover.
Yeah, and it's evergreen as well. I mean, you can jump into any episode, listeners, that you want. You can pick a movie that you want, and it's not like it's bound by current affairs or anything like that, because you're looking at past movies. So I find that a very great advantage of doing that.
Well, thank you for saying that, Ray. And I also wanted to add, it's always a joy to have you on. I always very much look forward to whenever you get to be a guest on. In fact, I hate to sometimes I almost feel guilty when I message you saying, do you want to come on? Because I'm like, the man has other things to do. He's got other podcasts. He's got a life, So I'm kind of
but you know what? It's another medium. Like, and that's a big appeal to me as well. Apart from, obviously, chatting with you, Nick, as well. It's fantastic. But to chat about films, it's a different sort of thing from comic books, and it's, of course it's related to comic books. So always happy to jump on as well. And you've recently expanded the scope of what Happiness in Darkness can cover. Yeah. So
yes, because the joy of the thing is, I suppose, I thought to myself, there are tons of movies that have been inspired by comics which are not necessarily superhero bound. You think of things like 300, or you think things like Road to Perdition, or you think of those kind of films, or not to mention movies that inspired comics, i.e. Aliens, or Predator, or Terminator, or even, or heck, right now on Netflix there's a wonderful TV show called Snowpiercer, which is inspired by a comic. And or even the film I Kill Giants, which I strongly recommend folks check out. It's an amazing film. It's very hot. Okay, if you watch, if you watch I Kill Giants, be sure to have a box of tissues at the ready, folks, because it does get very kind of heartbreaking, very moving. So I thought to myself, how to give folks an echelon or a way to discuss these films. And so, on our Patreon page, folks can, either our patrons can have us discuss these other movies. And plus, I'm dying to discuss Aliens, folks. Please let me discuss Aliens.
Well, can I just say then, listeners, all the details for Happiness in Darkness and for all of Nick's other podcasts like Gold Standard, Fandom Zone, Titan Talk, it's going to be all in the show notes. Go check out the Patreon page. It's really cool. See the incentives. You can have a say as to what Nick will review, or you can indeed go on the show as well and chat with Nick. Aliens. I mean, I'd put, I'd want to hear that as well. Aliens is a fantastic franchise. Certainly do love it.
We might have to twist your arm and get you on one of those.
I will. Any one of any. Well, actually, I was about to say any one of them. The first three would be good. Any of the three.
All right.
Yeah,
I will keep that in mind.
Also, as well, I really wanted to ask, because I just wanted to talk about this marrying of these two, I guess, interests that you have, Nick, as well. So you are, mentioned with Gold Standard, your love for Quentin Tarantino. You are an avid film watcher, film goer, and also you do love your comic books as well. How do you find this relationship between the cinematic universe and the comic book realm? I mean, there is a difference between the two, yet it's almost like a symbiotic relationship, Nick. There you go.
Well, these days it certainly is.
Yeah. Are you happy as it is now, or would you like to see more of a I don't know, adaptation of the comic books, or how do you view them?
Well, what I'm really happy is having, obviously the experience now, having done Happiness in Darkness, and, pretty much kind of time jumping through from films, from going like to the most recent ones, to like films that were made in the 80s or in the 90s or what have you. It's wonderful to see how this genre has evolved and how the quality has evolved and the stories being told. And I mean, I'm super happy. I could not be happier. And in fact, I think anybody who, it's a blessing and a joy to be alive in this era.
Yes, for
To
sure.
be able to witness what cinema is giving us. I mean, in fact, I super envy my niece, who is soon to be born. I'm soon going to be an uncle for the first time.
Oh, nice! Congrats.
And thank you. And I definitely, I've already warned my sister. I said when she comes to spend time with her uncle is going to be inducting her into the geek world, and be sure that she actually enjoys some geekdom in her life.
Yes.
And so I envy my niece when it comes to that, because obviously she's going to be able to witness things even more so before after I'm gone too. So it's going to be great, but I'm really happy with that. I mean, you go and look at things like your Donna Supermans, which are still just as great today, but how things have evolved from there. And I think it's beautiful that, and I'm hoping that the Scorseses of the world get off their high horses and realize that this is now a genre to be reckoned with.
So you think it's not going to go away? Do you think the bubble will burst, as a lot of people say, or do you think it will persevere?
I think, you know what, as long as they keep, I think, their storytelling fresh, I don't think it's going to go away. I mean, look,
I hope not. Yeah.
Disney has proven that they can do an entire story arc, and they've done this for what, 13 years?
Yep.
Since Iron Man came out in 2008?
2008, yeah.
So it shows you it's not, shall we say, a fad. It's here to stay. And I think, then look at how many people have gotten on board who never read a comic in their lives.
Let alone the actors as well,
Exactly. It's give certain actors either a lease on life or allow them to get discovered. I mean, think of Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
He had hit rock bottom before he became Iron Man. Iron Man was his second coming, if you will, or should we say second career. Because after that, he was pretty much a washed-up actor. He was done. There was nothing really for him to do. I mean, he was just like Tony. He was suffering from alcoholism.
Yeah.
He was just not getting any more gigs. And now he's back. And so it also provided things, folks. But I think the storytelling has become so much more evolved and so much more polished. Case in point, even look at what they're doing with WandaVision.
Yeah.
WandaVision is a clear example that they're becoming more sophisticated in their storytelling as well. Or you think of the Nolan films, the Dark Knight films. They are superhero related, but they are very much ingrained in reality. And so I think you can go so many ways with it. Or look at the Watchmen TV show. How powerful that was, and I'm so happy to see it took away so many awards, because it's deserved every single one of them. So I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, and I'm looking forward to seeing these new creators coming in and what they will bring to it. You see folks like your Patty Jenkinses, or your Taika Waititis, or these folks. They bring so much to it, and I definitely think it's a genre that's here to stay.
I mean, also as well, it's a nurturing ground for, like, can you imagine? We can't even conceive there might be actors later on, like younger actors, that will come up and be the next big thing. I think, because I'm thinking of, I mean, Tom Holland. He's probably the youngest out of the MCU at the moment, and he's cracked it big, hasn't he? I mean, he was really, he was doing some movies here and there, but Spider-Man really has made him. I mean, you can't deny that.
It put him on the map.
Him on the map, and he's great, as well. So, can you imagine the actors that we'll discover, like, down the track, if we continue telling these stories, similar to, as you're saying, the creators and directors, what they can bring and what So yeah, I think it's great. I mean, because there's that whole argument of it being like the westerns, right? And the westerns have kind of died out because that boomed for a long time. But then it kind of went. Superhero movies have kind of, I guess, always kind of ish been here. Like, you're talking about the Donner films and the Burton films of Batman. But certainly now, as you say, we are living in a purple patch where we're getting, God, how many movies a year plus TV shows. They really are increasing the volume that they are. I mean, so I'm just wondering, will they be able to maintain that, or that they might plateau a little and maybe get a steady stream of movies? I don't know.
But you make a great point, obviously, of the fact of, the Westerns, though, tended to be more of a secluded genre, if you will, because superheroes have always been around in some form or shape.
Yeah.
But, because either you had the big blockbuster movies, or heck, you go and look at the TV serials. You think of the George Reeves era with Superman, which was huge. I think superheroes are not going to be going away anytime soon. And they'll always be around in some form or shape. Maybe they might not have as big a place in the sun as things progress. Maybe that might diminish a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think one thing I think we can almost put our money on is the fact that superheroes will always be here, in whatever form or shape.
Yeah.
I mean, the superhero movie genre may get less attention as things progress. I'm hoping the day that a superhero movie wins the Oscar for Best Picture is going to be a big, big day. One for me.
That will be a big
and
day.
I think also, not to mention, I think everybody who's followed all this stuff, I think would be definitely, kind of a recognition of how far the genre has come in that sense. And I really hope that someday soon that will happen.
Yeah. I mean, and whether you like them or not, the big company that they are, Disney Plus, I think it's good that Marvel are under their umbrella, so to speak, because they will continue to bring out them. I mean, you look at the Disney films. I mean, they're still going. I don't know how popular they are. They might be very popular, but they're still going out, regardless of the fads and the trends of the era and the decade. They still come out. Similar, they picked up Star Wars. That's going to continue. It seems quite strong, although there are a lot of there's a lot of uproar with a lot of the more recent stuff. That's going to persevere as well. So yeah, let's hope that the comic book movies and the TV shows continue, because I'm certainly loving it. I'm hoping to introduce Finn into at least some aspect of it. probably much to Eve's chagrin, but there you go. I'll just I can only present it to him. That's all.
Yes.
Finally, Nick, I guess before we head off, I think we're going to head off to another location to start talking about your books. I just wanted to get a final kind of word in about your, this skill set of yours. We talked about the comic books you're following, getting into podcasting. So actually broadcasting, Nick.
Right.
So you are a radio DJ for, a country and western music show. You've done voiceovers that I know. You've got podcasts happening. How did you get into this kind of field?
There's the thing. I actually started, as I mentioned, came out of college with a degree in journalism, and from there I actually started working with a webzine for hard rock and heavy metal. And what I basically did was I would conduct interviews with various artists and review albums and what have you. And so my first gateway into that was actually was Metal from Milan, was my very first radio show that I ever did.
Nice.
And it was kind of on an amateur kind of basis. And what happened was I actually came across this woman in Texas who sadly is no longer with us, but she kind of gave me my first gig. Because I actually contacted her saying, I've got this, I'd love to try my hand at DJing. Yeah. And, would you give me a chance and let me see what I can do on your network? And this was an online radio station at the time. And she said, yeah, sure, what do you want to do? I said, I'm going to be doing rock and metal. And she's like, okay, go ahead. And, we don't have anything going that way. And I'm like, okay. And so basically I started with Metal from Milan, and I really enjoyed doing it. Not to mention, it was also my excuse for actually saying, okay, I've interviewed artists and I've reviewed albums, but how can I really share my passion about music with folks? The natural step would be to be a DJ, that's the reason why I did it. And then after that, so I was doing Metal from Milan for a while. And then a lady came into my life, and she was actually from Virginia. And that was actually the first time I ever went to the States. So my first time because we kind of started this online relationship. It was the time when online relationships were cool, if you will. Yeah. And so I flew over to Virginia and I met her and stuff. And she, obviously, Virginia being in the southern part of the States, they're very big on country over there. And she said to me, have you listened to country music? I'm like, well, I know Johnny Cash and Dolly Parton some. And she's like, oh, but have you ever heard of Tim McGraw? Have you ever heard of Faith Hill? Have you ever heard? I'm like, nope, don't know who those guys are. Like, okay. And so basically she schooled me in country.
Okay.
And when I got home, I thought to myself, wow, I want to start a country music radio show. And that's where Whiskey and Cigarettes came along.
Nice.
And so I just started that, and it just grew progressively to the point to where I had a day job at the time, and I got laid off because of the fact of they basically closed our entire department. And so I thought to myself, when they say when a door is closed, a window is opened. Mm-hmm. And I said to myself, okay, I guess this might be the universe saying to me that DJing is my job and DJing is my life. So I started that, met up a wonderful manager in Michael Stover, who's been managing me now for over 6 years. Mm-hmm. And and we've just gone from strength to strength, and it still blows me away to this day, Ray, when I say to myself, when I tell folks I'm a radio DJ by profession. It still blows me away, but that's what I do.
That's fantastic. I mean, I just want to take it even further back as well to that point. Did you have any reservations then about, like, when you're talking about interviewing musicians and stuff like that? Do you have any reservations about speaking like on it? I mean, those were recorded interviews, I'm imagining, but there's a big leap between that and being a DJ, like sitting behind a mic and having a live air kind of feel to it, and off you go. Did you ever think, oh gosh, this is a bit of a leap, or did you have some background in that?
Well, here's the thing. I will admit, the very first time I actually went live, I was nervous as all get out. I mean, you probably wouldn't be human if you weren't.
Yeah.
And but no, I just kind of got over it because I thought to myself, look, nobody can see you. You can probably fidget and do whatever you're doing and just do it. Yeah. And I think cutting my teeth on doing net radio with Metal from Milan really helped me because of the fact that...
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, did they? Sorry for interrupting you there. Did they train you in any way? Like, did you have to? No. Okay. Yeah.
No, because it was very much almost a free for all in the sense that it's like you want to be a DJ, come on. That's that. I mean, it was very sort of. I'm not saying amateur hour, but it was very much the fact of an online radio station with no particular pretenses of wanting to do whatever.
Okay.
And this lady Diane Landry, who was the lady that I said gave me my first job.
Yeah.
In inverted commas. She was very much about, let's see what these young kids can do, and, I'm sure that if I'd really sucked, she probably would have kicked me out. But the thing was, she was very much about taking, in inverted commas, young folks like myself under her wing and saying, you want to give you a shot at DJing, go ahead and see what happens. And I just, what, you learn as you go. It's like podcasting.
That's true.
You think, there are a lot of folks who are very kind of nervous about being on podcasts. And you think to yourself, it's just a matter of you're talking about what you love.
Yes, exactly.
And
you're the harshest critic for yourself as well. So there's a lot of stuff that you're going, oh gosh, I sounded like this. People don't pick that up. It's probably something that you pick up yourself about yourself.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And I think as long as the passion and enthusiasm is there, and you can and your listeners out there can tell that you have prepared. They'll be behind you every step of the way, because I think there are, I've actually heard other colleagues of mine whom I might not particularly care for, who maybe sound a little bit unprofessional, but folks love them because they're all about, just being themselves. And I think that's what it's all about. I think if you're yourself and you don't seem like you're too kind of stuff-shirted or what have you, people will go for it. And it didn't really sort of bother me at the time because I was just like, I'm just basically talking to myself because, because nobody can see you. You're behind the mic and you're playing music, but nobody can actually see you. So it may seem a bit weird that you're literally talking to yourself while playing music. But, other than that,
that's quite...
I think it's very much you just kind of, you learn as you go, really.
Yeah, it's quite fun, actually. I've done a few solo shows when last minute cancellations and stuff for co-hosts, and it's quite fun. You can be a bit crazy in it. I end up just being that because you're literally, as you say, talking to yourself. So why not? Just bit of a stream of consciousness, that sort of thing.
Correct.
Yeah, but is there any advice that you can give maybe budding listeners who may want to pick up the mic, may want to start a podcast, or may want to be a radio DJ?
Well, when it comes to DJing, I would say, folks, if you have something, if you're passionate about it and really want to try your hand at it, go for it, for sure. Yeah. I mean, just like I did, there's so many online radio stations these days who are always looking for new and upcoming folks. And I would suggest, the best way is to do that. I mean, if you obviously have the chance to intern at a bricks and mortar station, even better, because they obviously get to learn the ropes from the pros. If not, definitely, search out some online radio stations, because there are tons and tons of them. And a lot of them, obviously, granted, okay, when you're doing that, it's not a paying job. You obviously have to bear in mind it will start off as a hobby. But then if you're able to get some experience, then maybe you can try out at a local radio station. And so I think that's probably the best way to go when it comes to podcasting, even more so. That now there are so many, now these days, it's the hurdles have been pretty much flattened when it comes to how do I record, what do I do, and all this kind of thing. There's so many wonderful platforms online that allow you to, should we say, host your show, or should we say, where you can upload your show. And I would just say, if you have something, you feel you have something you want to say, and there's something you want to share with the world, and it makes you happy, go for it. Because don't deny your pleasure and your happiness, because this world is already messed up and screwed up enough as it is. We need more positivity. We need more optimism. We need people sharing their passion with folks. And there are so many folks out there who share the same passion you do and are just waiting to hear you share your love of these things with them.
Oh yeah, I follow wholeheartedly those comments as well, Nick. Yeah, for sure. It's time. Life is very short. Can I just say that without sounding too bleak? You just got to go for it. Just go for it. And whether or not it eventuates to anything, at least you can say that I've given it a go, and I've never go out wondering. If only I did this, or never have regrets.
It might seem a little bit hallmarky here, right? But don't. What I'm saying is, don't look at the final destination. Enjoy the journey. Exactly.
Like, I mean, Nick, you've had obviously a bit more of an experience with this kind of branch of broadcasting, but I think it's fair to say that both of us, we've been in the same boat as well. Like with our podcast, you just go out there, give it a go, give it a red hot go, see how you feel it, if you like it. But yeah, exactly. You do end up meeting and finding people that are so like-minded. Conversations will never end. It's really good. So, a great way to kind of end our living room, anti-room Grant Mansion conversation, Nick. This is really cool. How's your whiskey? Your pretzels are all good. Are you good to go up to the moon copter?
Sounds good to me. Yes, I'm good to go.
Okay, well, come out. Just come follow me through this door. Okay,
thank you. I'll have to ask Samuels where he gets his pretzels, because these are really good.
Homemade, I think. Homemade. Neda does them. Wakes up 4 o'clock in the morning. I wake her up to make them. It's great.
Okay.
Terrible. I'm a terrible taskmaster. Anyway, here's the lift. We have to go up to the roof. In we go. Let me just press the button. There we go. Little bit of lift music as we go up. Nick, do you recognise the tune at all? Is it coming back to you?
It's cool. It's cool. I like this. In fact, I'm always curious to see what the various elevators have. I've heard some great reviews about your selector when it comes to the elevator music. So I will say it's great.
This is good. It's great. It's fantastic. Here we go. Okay, we go. And yep, hi, Frenchie. There we go. Frenchie's got the moon jet already. Frenchie's here. This is Nick Frenchie. Nick, yeah, excellent. Anyway, listeners, Nick and I will be whisking ourselves off to another location. We are going into Nick's Isla Ra books. So we'll be looking at ranked 3rd and 4th of his books just on the other side of this break. So, Nick, after you.
Well, thank you.
Okay, catch you then, listeners.
Hey there. I'm sure you know about the Capes and Lunatics podcast, but have you heard about the Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks podcast? It's a fun home for classic and new reviews of just about everything. We have the Ultimate Spider Cast, where we cover everything Spider-Man. The Quantum Zone, where we talk the classic Marvel character Quasar and do deep dives on the cosmic side of Marvel. We also have Comic Capers, where we cover everything old and new in comics. It could be anything, any company, any decade. And we also have our Media Mondays, where we cover some kind of TV show, be it a Arrowverse current hit or our summer specials, where we do reviews of classic episodes of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer spinoff Angel. So, if you're a fan of pop culture and media, you should really check it out. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed.
Yes, welcome back, Looney listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 194. You're with your Hyper Zakonchi Ray, and with me is a very special guest DJ Nick from a treasure trove of podcasts, Happiness and Darkness, Gold Standard, Fandom Zone podcast, and also Time Talk, which is on a bit of a hiatus. That's correct, isn't it, Nick?
Correct, yes, as we wait for the new season of Titans and the new season of Doom Patrol to roll around for sure. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that'll give you a little bit of wiggle room, a bit of breathing space to choose your 4 Desert Island books. And Loonies, just to let you know, Nick, you may have noticed there's a bit of an echo here. We are it seems to be in some subterranean lair. As to why we are, that will be revealed later on. Oh, Nick, you might want to watch your head. Maybe we should duck? Okay.
Ouch, okay.
Oh, jeez, my God. There seems to be booby trapped. Hang on. The walls are closing in. Let's rush through this small hole.
Oh, my.
Okay.
Who owns this place? Seriously.
Well, I'd like to know as well. This is very... I don't know where Frenchie has dropped us off, but we will find out, I'm sure, after we go through your 2 books. Now, Looney listeners, we usually do a rank system, rank 4, 3, 2, 1, but I want to state out from the get-go that for DJ Nick, these 4 books, they're basically equal standing. So it's kind of an arbitrary order that I'll put them in, but we'll just go with it. I've just kind of alternated between publishers, so to speak.
Yeah, that works perfectly. You did a great job there.
And so, listeners, coming in as one of Nick's first Isla Ra books, one of the books he cannot live without. If he was stuck on a desert island, he needs this with him. Brrr, ding! We have Identity Crisis number 4, writer Brad Meltzer and art by Rags Morales. Now, Nick, this is what I do. I do read up on all these books as well, because I find them nice to actually be exposed to books I may not have read. A fantastic book, Nick. Here, how would you describe? I mean, I'm not going to read. I've got a little synopsis here, but how would you describe the summary for this issue?
Well, here's the thing. Had I had the chance, I would have chosen the entire Identity Crisis run, because it's a fantastic story. But I feel that issue 4 really kind of gives you an idea, because here's the fun thing. I actually stumbled on this episode in an office once, and I actually was there and I read it, and I was hooked from the get-go. I was like, oh man, I need to get on the whole Identity Crisis thing, because I think even though you started, your 4th issue in, it gives you an idea of what's going on, and it really gives you, I think, a different look at what some of the major DC heroes are about and stuff. And also think, and I love a good whodunit story. I love a good detective story, and so of course here it's all about finding out who done it, who killed who's going around killing these people. And no surprise, I love Watchmen as well. But yeah, and the artwork is superb. The dialogue is so crisp. The dialogue is so crisp, and you get so many fantastic characters, and that's the reason why. And not to mention, I have to say, the cover is one of the best Wonder Woman covers ever.
Yeah, love it. Absolutely. The art is.
If I were to ever have a Wonder Woman poster in my room, I would probably have Identity Crisis issue 4, because just the way Wonder Woman is drawn in that is just beautiful.
Oh, very, very. Yeah, I totally agree as well. I do have a partial leaning as well towards Nicola Scott's Wonder Woman. Again, not that she's Australian, but she's an Australian artist. She's very good. But her Wonder Woman is fantastic as well. But this was brilliant. I was really drawn in from this cover. So listeners, Identity Crisis, it's in a little bit of a, like, in the middle kind of section, as Nick said. I think it's a 7-parter. Is that correct, Nick? Yep. So basically the wives of some prominent superheroes are being killed off. And apologies, Nick, because again, my DC shortcomings might show here. But yeah, so generally I think Dr. Adam, it opens up, I think Jean Loring, she seemingly is hanging herself, but she's obviously in trouble. Someone has tried to murder her, and this is a trend that has followed. I think Elongated Man's wife got
correct.
killed.
Sue Dibney has been murdered basically, and it all stems from Sue Dibney, Ralph Dibney's wife, who is the Elongated Man. Yes, and the latest, shall we say, attempted victim is Jean Loring, who is the wife, of course, of Ray Palmer, whom folks will know as the Atom.
Yes. Very bleak. I immediately was drawn to Brad Meltzer. I've heard of his name, but I don't think I've read much of his stuff. This is really cool. I mean, I want to read all of it now.
You must. It's a fantastic. If you like, as I said, a good whodunit story, you definitely want to read the rest of this.
Yeah, I mean, and they go through some really fun characters. Like, I actually know Slipknot from the Suicide Squad movie. He was actually in there very briefly. He's one of the suspects. We get Wonder Woman, and we get also what I really love, sorry, excuse my self-indulgence, but Hal Jordan and the Spectre as the Spectre. Oliver Queen goes and sees him. So it's very much, I guess, of its time as well, because otherwise you'd be kind of wondering, what the hell, what's going on here? But yeah, so somewhere along the lines, Hal Jordan becomes the Spectre. It's pretty cool, but it is a huge whodunit. Fantastic as well, Nick. The art. I love the fact that also it was set up at the beginning. They're talking about the security system, and like isn't it piled on with all these like really alien security systems, as well as Batman's tech, and still whoever got through it. Look, this is an old story. So Nick, I'm happy to spoil. Who is it? Who did it?
Do you want to really? You really want to know? Because I don't want to spoil it for you.
Is it really going to impact if I know it now and read it, or?
It will, because you'll read it with different eyes.
Okay.
So
maybe
all I'm going. You know what? I'm not going to spoil it because folks want to read it. But all I'm going to say is you will be pleasantly surprised when you find out who it is.
Okay.
And just like they say in WandaVision, if you will, having watched WandaVision, the clues are all there.
Oh wow! Awesome. Yeah, definitely have to read issues 1 all the way through 7. So if I can be a bit more specific as well here, Nick.
Sure.
You mentioned great story, great whodunit. Great art as well. Why, out of the thousands and thousands of comics, is there a particular reason why you'd bring this on a desert island? Like, just to paint the picture for you, Nick, some people, like, they really do strategize why they bring certain comics. One might be like, it might be as as easy as, I need something like popcorn, some action thing, or I need something quite cerebral, or I need something that will present something again and again when I read it. Is there any particular reason why this was be chosen?
I think because it kind of mainly reminds me of the fact of the humanity of these superpowered beings, because that's at the end of the day, that's the beauty of Identity Crisis, is the fact that it really brings these. It pretty much, I think, Brad Meltzer did for the DC universe, I think, what Watchmen did at the time when it came to the superhero movie genre, i.e. make them even more human, if you will, and make them even more flawed and showing a darker side to it all.
Okay.
And I think that's the reason why, and I suppose, as I said, being a big fan of mysteries, and the dialogue in this is fantastic, and I loving Batman the way I do, the whole fact of the whole who benefits thing, which plays very strongly in this issue, is something I think worth to keep in mind in general. For people, is when something happens, you often have to think to yourself, we're kind of wondering why something happens or whatever. You think to yourself, who benefits from this? Which I think in life can maybe help you make certain choices or understand why certain things are the way they are. And as I said, it really furthers, I think, the whole Batman character of who benefits from this. And I think it's and just the fact that I said it humanizes all these characters, and you get so many of them in just in the one issue. That's why I loved it so much. Not to mention, as I said, I think it's some of the finest art I have seen from DC. And I could even just almost read the dialogue and just look at the artwork. It's just beautiful to look at.
The art is very, very good, and each of them very well depicted. I mean, there's that kind of big-ish panel of Batman that you see, and you get the sense of his cloak kind of draping over him. Just really very well drawn. And if I'm to take a leaning from a podcast that I do about Superman, I think Superman was really cool in it as well. I love the fact that I think it was Oliver Queen going, they're all perplexed as to who did it, and it's like, stuff this, they go straight to the top, and then you get a shot of Superman. And then there's this fantastic thing that Meltzer writes as well. I think Oliver Queen says, I kind of sense this rumble in his voice, which is only ever used with Batman before. I used to think it was anger, but it's fear. And I think that's great, just really great, because you're talking about such a powerful being, and even the gravity of the situation has caused him to sound a little scared. So it's really great writing. I think it's really cool, those little things, and also capturing the stuff like the friendship between Oliver Queen and Hal Jordan. That was really cool. There was that really nice exchange there, Nick, towards the end of like,
yes,
you're the Spectre. Just tell me who it is, and like, let's kill them or whatever. And he goes, I can't. I got rules. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
Answer to a higher power.
Yeah.
So I can't do that.
Yeah, and that's good, because it's a good foil, because you'd be thinking he is the spirit of vengeance. Why doesn't he? But no, he's got his rules to follow. So, really.
And also the father-son relationships. I mean, call me an old softie, but I like the whole kind of father-son things we also get here, because obviously you get Captain Boomerang and kind of should we say connecting with his son, and then you also of course have Robin and his father, where Robin is like telling Batman, I'm not going to be working. Tim Drake saying, I'm not going to be working tonight. I want to spend more time with my dad. And so those are kind of heartwarming moments too.
They're good, and Captain Boomerang was up again. I know very little about the character, but he was painted quite sympathetic in this. Is he turning a leaf or something? He's a villain, right? Isn't he? So
yes, of course, because he's still, because obviously here we also hear about the whole thing of some of the suspects being the Suicide Squad.
Yes.
And obviously Captain Boomerang was one of the, of course, original members of the Suicide Squad. He's, should we say, somewhat turning a leaf in the sense that I think he's just maybe looking for, reasons to his life outside of I suppose, the criminal world. And you get that kind of bonding moment between him and his son, who's like, I found out that you're my father. And so it's also that I think this issue very much focuses on family, and not to mention, you get some very interesting insights, I think also when it comes to Superman, because you see about the reports of Lois saying even Superman gets nervous. Yes. As in, she's like, I've noticed he keeps cracking his knuckles.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And so that's why I love it, because it humanizes everybody. And even Lois saying, you know, I saw he was kind of X-raying our wedding photo, our wedding book. So, and I love that, the fact that even Superman can crack his knuckles in nervousness.
Well,
it shows there's humanity there.
It certainly does, and it also just shows how well Lois knows him. Like, you know, just these little nuances that she'll pick up. The telltale signs of what he's going through. So yeah, no, I think it was very strongly written. Fully justified what I've heard of Brad Meltzer. So really good stuff.
Well, if you do get to read the whole thing through, Ray, I really am looking forward to hearing your thoughts once and if you do read the whole thing, because I'm very curious.
I certainly will. I definitely will. The one thing I didn't put on here though was when it was released. Do you know, perhaps off the top of your head there, Nick? Otherwise, I'm just opening up a link now. I'm assuming it looks like, what, early 2000s? Is that right?
Yes, it is early 2000s, yes.
Okay, 2004. Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, nice.
Correct.
Excellent. Well,
and it might draw you on to other Brad Meltzer stuff, because he's written some great things throughout his career.
Oh, what other DC
well, I mean,
stuff?
because Brad Meltzer has done. I mean, because he's worked in obviously I believe both for Marvel and DC, and he's very much, as I said, the kind of a man of the people, if you will, because as you see in Identity Crisis. He's also obviously a novelist as well, because the guy's actually written books.
Okay.
Political. In fact, no surprise, he actually, before going into comics, he actually wrote political thrillers. That was his whole kind of claim to fame. And so yeah, because he's worked, as I said, on tons of things. Because he wrote the Book of Lies, which is great. He actually wrote one of the arcs of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, for example. Right. So the guy has done quite a bit of things. Okay. And novels, he's done quite a few things, and he's done a lot of non-fiction stuff. He's worked on mainly DC, Green Arrow, for folks who want to read the Archer's Quest, which is actually really good. Okay. And also he's done 2 Justice League volumes as well, so you can find him on that. And season 8 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer is actually written by Brad Meltzer.
Oh wow, he wrote the episodes. Wow.
Yes, correct.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, again, Loonies will be no strangers to novelists, good novelists being good comic book writers as well. From our stables, of course, Charlie Huston and Greg Horowitz, who did The Vengeance of the Moon Knight, there, Nick. Both successful spy and political novelists in their own right. So yeah, that's great to hear that Brad Meltzer's kind of that ilk. I mean, if it's anything like Charlie Huston or Greg Horowitz, then yeah, for sure, totally in.
I definitely would suggest folks check out his 2 Justice League runs as well. They're definitely worth it.
Okay, well, actually, I will put that in the show notes there, listeners. So there might be some odd Justice League links there, but if you've listened to the show, you'll understand why they're there. Actually, Nick, we are under a little bit of fire. There seems to be some robots here now.
Oh no!
This is a bit weird. I mean, look, we can just duck and weave. We're quite agile, aren't we? So if we go
our best.
Okay, we found ourselves a nice little spot away from those crazy robots spouting nonsense. And we are now up to your next book here, Nick. And I'm jumping publishers here. So we've got from 1968. We're going back. Actually, Nick, the Identity Crisis was probably the most modern book out of the 4 that you've chosen. So that's just an interesting note. We're going back to 1968, Avengers, Volume 1, 57. So this was written by Roy Thomas and art by that legendary John Buscema. So for listeners, Nick, this is a big one and quite, I guess, appropriate for what we were talking about, WandaVision and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Can we use the word, I suppose, timely, which is what
Timely.
Marvel was known at the time?
That's it. That's the word I was thinking of. But yeah, very timely. Of course, it is. Is it Behold the Vision? I think that is the title on the cover. Very popular cover. And for listeners, 57, this is it. This is the introduction of Vision, and we get Ultron 5 happening as well, which is where we are, Nick. We are in the subterranean lair of Ultron 5. That is why we are here. Yes. But this, Nick, why did this hold a good significance, a great significance for you?
Well, I have a few Marvel characters that I absolutely love to death. My all-time, Vision is my all-time favorite Marvel hero.
Oh, is he? Wow.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
Wow,
Vision.
you must be
I love.
over the moon with WandaVision then, like your heroes.
Yes, because Vision is my Vision is my man. Literally, he's my synthesoid, as they would say. I guess one could say to be more correct.
Yeah.
But no, and so I thought to myself, what better volume or should I say issue to choose than the one which actually debuts the Vision? Because obviously Vision had made appearances previously, but he had been a completely different character, and he was literally a villain, and did not look like this. This is where we actually got the Vision, should we say, in his typical green and yellow attire with the red face.
Yes.
And that was the reason why, because I just loved his journey, and obviously going back and rereading through it. And so I thought to myself, it was no better place than here. Not to mention, for folks who are fans of the MCU who do decide to read this one, you get Black Widow in a very different attire.
Her original
and she's dating
costume.
Hawkeye.
Yeah, which is so cool because for MCU fans, you'll kind of then understand the relationship they have in the cinematic universe. There's a bit of a kinship there, but you see that they actually have a relationship earlier on. And she's not even red-headed, Nick. She's...
Nope.
Yep, black hair.
She's basically standing upside down, black hair, and the whole kind of black, kind of lace kind of stuff, which was because I suppose she's the Black Widow, she's going to wear black, I assume. So, and yeah, because you mentioned the fact that the MCU and the fact that Hawkeye, or I believe Black Widow, throughout a few movies, we actually see her wear an small arrow around her neck, which is of course a little tribute to that. There is this to be said. Black Widow in Marvel Comics tends to get around a bit. To put it the nicest way I can.
Yeah, her and Daredevil, all right, they're like rabbits.
Yeah, in fact, because Black Widow, of course, dates Hawkeye. Then she dates Daredevil. She dates a couple of others. So let's say she likes to broaden her horizons when it comes to superheroes.
Yes, exactly. Look, who can blame her? There are plenty of. Well, actually, there are plenty of bad characters as well. But
she likes to enjoy herself. Nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that as well. Like, work hard, play hard. That's the way you go.
Exactly.
But this issue brings up a lot of really good stuff as well. As you mentioned, Hawkeye and Black Widow. We see a standoff between Vision. He gets to show off his powers, and you get to see how powerful he is. He takes on the likes of Hawkeye, Thor, Goliath, the Wasp, all that. He kind of beats them with ease because of his intangibility. I love his power set, Nick. I think he's really so
Me
powerful.
Too.
And it was so good to see him in the WandaVision, the finale, to actually display all that. It was good.
The whole thing of changing his density, because that's a huge thing in the comics, is the fact that he obviously can go from completely intangible to being basically as hard as diamond.
Yes.
That's basically the great thing about the Vision. And granted, in the comics, the gem that he has in his head is not the Soul Stone in the comics. It's literally just should say something powered by the sun from which he can shoot rays.
Yes, a solar, absorber or something. Yeah, that's right. It had nothing to do with the Infinity. Sorry?
Well, see, because Vision is green as well, because he relies on solar energy. He's solar powered. So it was already how progressive Marvel was. They're already looking at green energy.
Way ahead of their time.
Yeah. It's a shame that obviously we don't get Iron Man or Captain America in this. We would get them in the issue after this, of course, because it's when they start analysing the fact that is Vision Avengers material or not.
Yeah.
And
doesn't Black Knight? Black Knight turns up as well, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Yes indeed. Yeah. And here, if you will, it's almost a prelude of the West Coast Avengers.
Yes. Yes, it is. One of my favourite iterations of the Avengers. And you're talking about, Nick, picking something good for Vision. Vision Quest, I guess, is another big story arc. It's all part of the West Coast Avengers as well. But yeah, this is really cool. Also, as well, another big takeaway from this issue is Ultron 5. And the ominous ending, but also the relationship that he has with Vision, and Vision essentially kind of tearing away from him because he was under, not his spell, but he was, he was created by Ultron. Ultron's a father, if you will, and so he tears away from him and destroys him.
And not to mention that ending there. It was one of those comic moments which I absolutely love when they do them, where they actually quote a poem, and that of course is Ozymandias by Percy Shelley. And already so early on they were already doing the whole quoting of poems. And that's that folks. That is not. It's obviously. Original writing there. They are literally. It's not Roy Thomas writing. Roy Thomas has taken. A certain man by the name of Percy Shelley, who, yes, no surprise, is husband to Mary Shelley, the lady who created Frankenstein, and that is literally his Ozymandias, which I thought was an interesting choice for Ultron, or should we say, when we see the skull, should we say Ultron's head on the beach, and then use the Ozymandias poem.
Yeah, I know for sure, and of course it kickstarts, I guess, to the nature of Ultron. And the fact that he lives on, and he's hard to kill. He'll just jump across to something else. So this was a very, very cool issue. Again, would be remiss to not mention John Buscema's art, the artwork. I love this classic kind of look of art. Nick, that him, John and John Romita Senior, I think, are my favourite. And maybe what is Gene Colan as well. I love his artwork.
Oh, great work, great stuff.
Yeah, so really good, very good classic Avengers. A nice little one and done as well, Nick. So apart from the Identity Crisis, which was part of a bigger saga, this can really be seen as just like a one-off adventure, because it starts off with Vision. They have this whole thing in one issue. I mean, you won't get that in comic books these days.
No, and I think, for folks who may want to see, shall we say, the Vision's debut in the comics world, it works because, again, and plus, you get a recurring villain in the Marvel universe, which is, of course, Ultron 5. And so I thought it's great for that reason. Plus, you get obviously most of our famed Avengers, with the exception of Iron Man and Captain America, who are off doing other things. But yeah, I really enjoyed it for that reason. Yes.
Yeah, fantastic two choices here, Nick. We might just take another quick break, and it will allow us to actually go to another location, Loonies. We're just going to get out of this crazy lair, get Frenchie to come take us away, and when we come back, we will look at next your final two, and I've left two big ones, so these should be good to chat about. Catch you soon. Hello, Looney listeners. This is Ray here. Just wanting to say, look, if you like Moon Knight, I urge you to give The Fringe Knight a go. This is a self-published indie release by creator and writer Daniel Doing, and it's a ripper of a read. The Fringe Knight is an adventure comic series set in Erie, Pennsylvania, and the series stars the title character who protects his city from every threat imaginable. From radioactive wolfmen to mad scientists putting poodles in giant robots, the Fringe Knight is there to protect. Definitely worth checking out. I highly recommend it. Available, just check out the show notes in this episode, but Fringe Knight has a Facebook page as well as a Patreon page, and you can also find all the comics on indieplanet.com. So check out Fringe Knight by Daniel Doing. Alright, let's get on to the show. Yes, Looney listeners, welcome back. You are listening to an Isla Sessions episode 194. I am with special co-host DJ Nick, and we've changed our locations. After a short little jaunt, a short little break, Frenchie has whisked us away from a subterranean lair, and we are now in Westchester County. Nick, again,
good old the state of New York. You have to love that.
Exactly. It's nice. It's kind of lush here. There's some nice greenery, but we've got a beautiful. I mean, it's nothing compared to Grant Mansion, but we've got a beautiful mansion in front of us. The school for gifted students. I'll just leave that there for some of the listeners. Anyway, Nick, we are hurtling towards your last two comics. And the third, I guess, comic that you have chosen is Batman 1. Yes, all the way from 1940. So we're talking origin, baby. You mentioned that you did a research, Nick, that you kind of decided to go back and kind of hit it at the source, so to speak. You can't get any more further back than this, written by Bill Finger and art by Bob Kane. Now, it might be apparent why you chose this, Nick, but why did you choose this particular issue?
Well, as much as I think, Batman is DC's Moon Knight, I think, and a lot of folks have made that comparison.
Yes, absolutely.
And but both have their rights to exist. And they're both wonderful characters. And I thought to myself, this was a great way to, if you're on once again your desert island and you want to read something, this is a very satisfying issue. It's almost like a 3-course meal, if you will, because you have multiple stories in this. This was obviously the time when your one comic would have multiple stories in it. And here, of course, we get introduced to, some of the most famous of Batman's rogues gallery villains. Because, of course, we get the Joker, we get Hugo Strange, who was actually the very first villain that Batman ever fought against, and actually in Detective Comics, because obviously before Batman got his solo title, he was featured in Detective Comics. And you get Hugo Strange, and of course you get Catwoman, or as she's known here, the Cat.
Yes, the Cat. Yes.
So we get 3 big ones, and of course you'll get 2 Joker stories, which hey, you can't get enough Joker. And not to mention, it shows a turning point in this comic is they were actually thinking of killing off the Joker for good in this when Bill Finger and Bob Kane were writing this, but then he's too good to lose, so obviously they make sure he's still alive and well. But no, that's the reason why. And not to mention, it's the first time we actually got Batman's origin story. Because in Detective Comics, which was the case of the Criminal Syndicate, which was the very first story that we got in Detective Comics, we didn't know where the Batman came from or who he was. And here they actually said, we're going to make it even more special for you. We're going to actually show you how Batman became Batman, which I thought was actually a nice little thing as well.
Yeah, the 1940s as well, it doesn't shirk around anything, really. I mean, I remember reading that first bit, the origin of Batman, and Thomas Wayne gets shot, and then the robber or the mugger just says, get out of the way, lady, and shoots her as well. So
yes.
It gets really very kind of abrupt, very direct, but this is great. And I can see I think, Nick, this is a good example. I mean, this is, as you say, a 3-course meal. It's a great one to take to a desert island. There's plenty to read here. How scary is the Joker? For the 40s, he's still I mean, he packs a punch in here for me. Like, when I read it, like, with the Joker smile, he's killing people willy-nilly. I mean, he's a menace. It's really good.
Yeah, here people are literally dying.
Yes.
And you have to also obviously think that here Batman was very much taking from the pulp books and comics of the era. And so they obviously were making it more, should we say, as pulpy as they could. And that's why I think what makes it so gritty and so hard-boiled and great is the fact of just that reason is this was literally Batman, obviously, at the very, very beginning of his journey, and comic book wise, and so they literally took him from the pulps, which is what Detective Comics was mainly known for at the time. I mean, you even look at the case of the Chemical Syndicate, which is in Detective Comics, the very first Batman appearance. He kills everybody, literally. Batman, before they retconned the whole thing of Batman doesn't kill, and the fact that he even uses guns and what have you, even here, he hangs people, he kills people.
Yeah, he does it here as well. He even mentions, like, I don't usually kill people, but I'll make an exception in this instance. And then he kills a guy.
But no, I think it really is the Joker at one of his creepiest in this. Yeah.
Yeah, really.
He's played less for laughs and more of like the psychopath side of Joker.
And I guess it just really surprised me because I would expect that for modern interpretation of the Joker, but for the 1940s to have that sadistic a villain, I thought it was great. I think it was a really great introduction to the Joker. And you can see why the legacy of the character continues because it got off to a great start. Hugo Strange, and I'd like to note, not Nimrod Strange. Let's get that right, listeners. We all know Doug Mensch made a mistake. He created a villain in Moon Knight called Nimrod Strange, but in one of the panels. Yeah, one of the panels, he maybe the editing got it wrong, and they called him Hugo Strange. It was like, oh. Bit of a problem there, but anyway.
Ouch. Okay.
But yeah, Nimrod. Sorry, not Nimrod. Hugo Strange. Very, very cool in this Monsters. This was a very different take. I thought it was good because you suddenly see a bit of range with Superman. Not Superman. I'm talking Batman. Again, because the villains are so out of the world, out of this world, that it seems like that. But yeah, Batman fighting these monsters, which was awesome. It was great fun. If I can actually bounce back also, Nick, a little one thing about the Joker, it might be actually in the second part where the Joker sprays him with gas. Do you remember that? Yes. And Batman just goes, I'm just going to shake it off. So he shakes it.
Yeah, here we see we got the introduction of the fact that nothing phases Batman.
Exactly.
And I think somewhat the fact of his utility belt, he's got everything, because we get the UV light.
Oh, yes.
When has he had a UV light?
Oh, my gosh,
and the fact of okay, a lot of things seem a little bit convenient. Like, for example, both his and Robin's boots like coated to leave marks if you can see him with a UV light, which are fun. But yeah, the gas thing is like, he can shake it off because he's the Batman.
Yeah, exactly. It's all, I mean, of course, of its time, all a bit of fun as well. Yeah. But really enjoyed it, and that little, it was a Robin-centric story. On the ship, which I found, again, 3 really different stories. It was really cool, and that had the introduction of the cat. I actually didn't put 2 and 2 together, Nick, there until I saw Selena Kyle at the end. I was just like, okay, this is some shenanigans about someone robbing someone. But yeah, I didn't consider. But it was really cool to see her. The first sight of it was when Batman sees this old lady run away. He's like, she's got pretty good legs for an old lady, he says. So,
yeah, exactly. Batman's checking out the old ladies. What does that tell you?
Exactly. So no, a lot of fun this. It was actually fun to see a lot of the ads of the time as well. The copy that I've got shows some of the recent the ads, and you're talking about the pulp nature of it. So there's one of it's like these are your 5, I think, characters to remember. As Superman, Batman, it had Flash, it had the Spectre, and then it had, I think it was Ultraman or something. It's like, he didn't survive. He's not. Is he around still or no?
No, well, I mean, he is, but obviously he wasn't. He's not as prominent at the time. But yeah, and I think I love the fact that the Catwoman, shall we say, story is also great because it shows you really a prelude of things to come of
Yes.
the incredible love story between these two, because here we literally see Batman let her go on purpose.
And she actually propositions him as well. Like, you and I can be, king and queen of the underworld or of crime, and we can do all this. So yeah, it was really interesting to see. I actually enjoyed the art as well. I thought Robin was drawn really well. He's got that very pulpy kid look to him.
Yes.
Which is really nice, very endearing to see. Batman as well, very classic. Joker, in an odd way, still very kind of scary the way he looks. He's drawn very weird, and just that Joker smile for all his victims, very creepy. So,
and that he lives in a graveyard behind.
Yeah.
I thought was really curious that because obviously later on you'd never have the Joker living in a graveyard, like almost I think it's like behind the tombstone. There's like his lair or something, but. You got that point where really the Joker was considered the thing of nightmares.
It's very, very good. Like I must say, a very good villain to create, especially in the 40s. I don't know. So yeah, hats off there. Sorry, Nick. I see we are kind of within the grounds of this School for Gifted Students. A few people here. Hello. Is that the professor?
Whatever obstacles get in the way, remember, they can be overcome. Xavier out.
Nick, that's the professor.
Wow, is that? I was trying to figure out whether it was McAvoy or Stewart.
I don't know. He looked oldish, maybe. And there's Wolverine.
Looks like you've been having fun without me.
Very, very dangerous looking, of course.
I got your pointers right here.
A lot of colourful characters over here.
Very colourful characters indeed. Maybe we can blend in. We can be mutants ourselves somehow.
We'll do our best.
We'll do our best. Anyway, listeners, that may give you some clues as to Nick's last book. And in keeping with mostly some classic comics, we do have Ding from 1963. I've got this in my notes, but it is actually The X-Men #1, not Uncanny X-Men. So written by, Nick, you've picked some big titans here. So we got Bill Finger, Bob Kane. Now we've got Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. So this is where it all kicks off for the mutants, Nick. And this is a very interesting. I'd not read this issue 1 before, so it was very cool to read. Why this one as well? Do mutants or the X-Men have a significance for you?
Well, one, I love the X-Men, and a lot of folks consider it like the soap opera par excellence when it comes to Marvel. Because anybody who's read the X-Men knows, let's be honest, folks, it is a soap opera.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that in a negative way. It just really is, because people fall in love. Multiple people sleep with multiple people. You've got people dying and coming back. You have clones. You've got this. It is a soap opera.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful soap opera at that. And the reason why I chose this one is I could have gone on another one, but here I actually, once again, review another of my favorite Marvel characters, which funnily enough is Magneto. I love Magneto for so many reasons. Granted, here he is literally a clean and cut villain.
Yeah.
But as things progress, we find out that Magneto is much more than just a villain. He's an anti-hero. He's he's such a complex character, and that's why I love Magneto. Magneto is actually my favorite X-Man, if you will. I mean, granted, we're jumping many, many years from 1963, but Magneto will eventually be the head of the School of Mutants. He will be one of the professors, and so his role changes so much. Not to mention, he is always believed to be the biological father of the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. And I just love this character. And of course, here we get the introduction to him. And of course, we get you introduction to the OG X-Men. And I just thought it was the best way. And you said, we have two giants here. Of course, we have Mr. Stan Lee and we have Jack King Kirby, who pretty much was drawing everything at the time.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I mean, I can't believe the amount.
And I love the Kirby artwork.
Yeah, the Kirby artwork is great. You get the classic, the OG Iceman. which was, he even makes fun of himself there, dressing up as a snowman with he gets a couple of coals and a carrot, which I thought was very fun. But the art was really cool. The writing as well, very, I mean, again, of its time.
It's very Stan Lee.
Stan Lee, a lot of dialogue. It's really cool, but a great introduction to the 5 X-Men, and I liked Angel and Beast and Cyclops as well. The introduction of Jean Grey was cool. I loved how everyone was fawning over her, in particular Beast. He actually goes in for a peck, and she kind of like wards him away with her telekinesis, which is pretty funny. There's a highlighting of Bobby Drake as like emphasized as the younger one, so he gets kind of like special attention at the beginning, but they end up taking him through the paces, which is cool. Professor X as well, he kicks off as obviously the leader of the pack, the director. I thought it was really cool. And as you say, Magneto, he had a big part of it as well. I thought his power was quite awesome. With the magnetic fields and stuff. It all culminates in the X-Men fighting him, but he's put up this magnetic field. Cyclops, in this brilliant panel where it's almost as if his whole face is like exuding an optic blast. He kind of cracks through that barrier. They all go in through, and it's basically a free-for-all against Magneto, and he manages to do, just from memory, he manages to hold his own for the most part. But I think it was Bobby's shield.
Yes.
Magneto he hurls a couple of missiles at them, and they kind of survive. They come out and they fight him some more, and he leaves. But yeah, very entertaining. The army are included as well here, Nick. So, which you see, maybe it's because I'm reading a lot of Hulk, but you see that a lot. You see a lot of the military involved.
Yes.
But yeah, again, as you say, maybe this touches a little bit more on the sign of the times than, say, what DC would. Is that, I don't know.
Yeah, not to mention, you also have, I think it is very much a sign of the times where the army was very much, a thing, as you mentioned, in your Hulk readings. And also I want to add to the fact that we get a proto-danger room, which is kind of cool, because obviously that's a big thing for the X-Men in the X-Men universe, is the danger room, which I thought was kind of fun. And you also get the fact, I think, of Professor X being quite the taskmaster himself. He's like, you have to do this in 3 seconds. 2 seconds.
I noticed that. It's like, be here in 3 minutes and you will be punished otherwise. Like, oh, geez, he's pretty hardcore.
You think, so what does the punishment entail? It's like, oh, you're here in 3 seconds. Well done. You think, so what is this punishment he keeps kind of promising? It's like, wow. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and as I said, it's fun. It's really, really sort of fun stuff. And granted, Magneto's powers will vary as things progress, because here he can even write things in the sky, and he can do all sorts of things.
With dust particles. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it does, obviously, as the comics evolved, his power did tend to change. Yeah. But I love that we did get, of course, his classic red and purple suit. And as I actually mentioned to Russell, it's interesting how Marvel would use the color purple.
Purple, yes.
For villains.
Yep, Green Goblin. Who was Purple Man?
Exactly.
Yeah, that is very interesting. Sorry?
You actually get in issue 2 of this, the Vanisher, who has basically the same costume as Magneto, which is red and purple. Oh,
gosh. I was thinking of Onslaught the whole time when I saw Magneto as well, because he's very prominent with those colours. Just funny with that, the dust particles in the sky, I found it funny how he made his demand, but then he signed in cursive Magneto. In a very, nice running cursive writing. I thought that was pretty cool.
I wonder whether that was possibly a homage to the Wizard of Oz, because the Wizard of Oz had come out the year prior. Shall we say? No, sorry, pardon me. The Wizard of Oz was still very much in people's consciousness at the time. Well, granted, the Wizard of Oz came out in 1939.
Okay,
but But I wonder whether that might have been, a little homage to Wizard of Oz. And it's interesting how the Wizard of Oz has pervaded Marvel and the MCU and what have you.
Very much so. WandaVision. How much is WandaVision? Yeah, God. Yeah.
So it could be maybe a take on the Wizard of Oz there. But
1939. My God.
Yeah. Wizard of Oz is from 1939. In fact, we actually had that discussion when we reviewed Gone with the Wind, which won the Oscar for Best Picture that year.
Mm-hmm.
It was Wizard of Oz lost to Gone with the Wind, and
oh wow,
that's a whole discussion in itself. But you do think to yourself, what could have happened in movie history had Wizard of Oz won in 1939 and not Gone with the Wind? It could have maybe changed movie history forever.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and taking nothing away from Gone with the Wind, because I watched it when I was young. My sister was a huge Vivien Leigh fan, so I ended up watching that. But taking nothing away from there, but I'd say arguably Wizard of Oz is more enduring. I mean, you look at it, it's a lot more, at least popularly known. Amongst the...
You think to yourself, if you had a TARDIS and you could go back in time and you have Wizard of Oz win Best Picture in 1939, I'm sure the scope of cinema would have changed drastically.
Yeah. I love how you included a Whovian reference there, Nick. In another episode, we must touch upon your Doctor Who love. But no, great to hear it there. This issue was really good. Very fun to have. Was this more of a fun factor for you, Nick, to bring onto a desert island?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was more the fun factor, because the fact of the X-Men lore being so extensive. I think this is a good way to epitomize it, because if you go further down the line, it just gets so convoluted and so crazy.
Yeah.
And if you read later issues, you're like okay, so when did this happen? And when did this happen? Because once again, had it been, had one been able to, bend the rules and go with a, shall we say, trade paperback, I probably would have gone with the Dark Phoenix saga. Because there you can't take the one issue, because it takes away from the story.
Yeah.
Here I think it's great because you get your main characters and you get your main villain and the main what have you. And heck, I think it was important to have at least one Lee Kirby book when it came to these four.
For sure. No, I think your 4 books are very well thought out, and they're fantastic to read. I've got to thank you, because all of them except for Avengers 57 I have not read. I only read Avengers 57 out of all 4 of them. So reading these other 3 have been eye-openers, and they're really, really cool. So, no, fantastic work there, Nick.
Oh, thank you. You know what? Well, I thank you, for allowing me to kind of go wild and see what I could bring to this show for sure when it came to these issues. And I'm glad that it's also sparked your interest as well in wanting to read certain things that might have been outside your periphery on a regular basis.
Yeah, and let's hope that goes for the listeners as well. So listeners, as mentioned, those encrypted links, they do feature these 4 issues. Go check them out. If you haven't read them already, they're readily available. And they're very, very worthwhile in reading. So a huge thank you to Nick for picking these. That it would have been a hard task, as mentioned, but very much appreciated. And interested to actually take this further on and read more Identity Crisis, stuff like that. So a huge thank you.
Oh, well, hey, I'm so glad. As I said, it was a joy to be here with you as always, Ray. And, I look forward to, coming back maybe sometime soon. And just, thank you for the time indeed.
Absolutely, Nick. Absolutely. Now, before we go as well, again, as mentioned, a huge thank you to Nick. Where can Loonies contact you if they want to learn more about your shows and your comic book loves?
Okay, well, when it comes to me, if you want to, I'm on Twitter, where you can find me at High Darkness Pods. That's the Happiness and Darkness Twitter page, if you will. On Facebook, you can find me as Nick Bernitz Pizzigoni, which is actually my personal page. If not, you can find me, of course, on Gold Standard and Happiness and Darkness, as mentioned, and Fandom Zone and what have you. And also, if you are fans of country music, you can visit our website. That's whiskeyandcigarettesshow.com, where you can see, of course, when our show is airing and if you want to listen to the edition of the show from the previous week. So yeah, I would pretty much say, go head over to Twitter, High Darkness Pod, Gold Standard, Oscars Gold, and Facebook. You'll find us on Happiness in Darkness and Gold Standard, the Oscars podcast on Facebook too.
Yes, and thank you so much. And as well, Loonies, go check all that out. Go pester Nick, because he knows a lot about comics. He knows a lot about films as well. He's great to chat with. It's very fun. So go. Take it from me. You know your shizzle. So great stuff. Great stuff. Next phase, Loonies, we are in a waxing crescent. So for our 2 episodes next week, of course, the Idle Chat at the top of the week will be on the Kavanagh legacy. So this will be interesting. Terry Kavanagh's legacy of the last 20 or so Mark Spector Moon Knight series run issues. Very interesting. He really did take Moon Knight in a different direction. It'll be fun to chat about, what Loonies thought about that. As well, later in that week, we've got Lunapic, the Modern Run review for the Waxing Crescent. It is going to be Shadowland Moon Knight #1 from 2010. And with me for this will be first-time guest, Rotten Tomatoes film and TV critic, as well as a social media manager for The Spool, Tim Stevens. So Tim is a Moon Knight fan, and invited him on to talk all about Shadowland Moon Knight. That should be a lot of fun.
Wow, nice! I'll definitely be checking that one out.
Yeah, I've never spoken to Tim before, so this should be interesting. I'm sure he knows his Moon Knight stuff for sure. Also, Loonies, we are part of the Collective, so a band of few like-minded podcasters, a very informal network, but we like to share and prop each other up. So the likes of Happiness in Darkness, a superhero movie podcast, the likes of Inner Demons, a Ghost Rider podcast, or let me just pick from here, We Are Venomaniacs, a Venom podcast, as well as a whole host of others. Go check it out. There are links in our show notes for the Collective. There are about 20 odd shows, all comic book related or comic book character related as well. We can be contacted on email, itkmoonnight@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook, a page and group, or on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Discord. Get vocal. We have a website on Libsyn and WordPress, and we are on Podchaser, as well as a Patreon page too. So finally, as well, if you would like to rate us, it would be greatly appreciated. That would be on Podchaser or Apple Podcasts. It just helps us get out there a little bit more. So Nick, we are here in Westchester County in the mansion. I do find ourselves now down, we are here in the garage. I did see Wolverine take one of Cyclops' bikes. I was wondering if you wanted to nick one as well.
You know what? Might as well, because because Slim Summers has an abundance of bikes, so I don't think he'll miss them anytime soon. So why not?
Exactly, I'm of the same thinking as well. Look, we came in with the Moon bikes, we might as well go out with the X bikes. Let's head back to Grand Mansion. A huge thank you once again, Nick, and as always, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.